What's up, everybody, and welcome to Malt Mondays. Today we're going to be taking a look at the Glenmorangie Signet.
In Scotland, would you accidentally drive up to Talisker?
So the Glenmorangie Signet is Glenmorangie's top of the line whiskey, not including some of their super premium stuff, but within the normal range of their lineup. Now the Signet's price has actually gone up recently to around $220, $240 with the tariffs, but that should be coming back down now that the tariffs are being removed. This is one of my absolute favorite designs of a bottle. You know, it's got the cork is this heavy metal top. The whole top here is really heavy. It's got this thick glass bottom. This was definitely designed to be a special occasion gift bottling. And it looks the part, which a lot of times, you know, most whiskeys come in similar bottles. And obviously the bottle doesn't matter, doesn't make the whiskey better. But to a lot of people, if they're buying something as a gift, they want it to look special, and this certainly does. So, what's in it? Well, Glenmorangie says that this is using some of their oldest stock. What that means, I have no idea. Oldest could be 30 years old, 40 years old. It could be 25 years old. You know, where they draw that line is completely up to them. This is a non-age statement whiskey, so it could easily be only 3 years old. That's the minimum to be called Scotch whiskey. So that's all we know, is that it's at least 3 years old. So this is non-chill filtered, bottled at 46% ABV. And as far as the color, it's a gorgeous color, but Glenmorangie is artificially coloring their whiskeys, or at least they aren't publicly stating that they don't. It doesn't say it anywhere on the bottle. Haven't seen anything on their website or heard anything from their ambassadors about it, of whether or not they do use colors, so we have to assume they do. And this is quite dark whiskey, so I would expect that this probably has been artificially colored, depending on the casks used. But on the nose, really nice citrus orange aromas right up front, with a little bit of a coffee mocha aroma. So this whiskey is being made with 15 to 20%, Glenmorangie doesn't say exactly, chocolate barley, which just means that they've taken the malted barley and they've roasted it the same way you would coffee or to make a stout beer. And so that gives you these kind of coffee and chocolate aromas, which are really unique. I don't really get that in any other whiskey, at least not the way it is here. Now, add on to that, Glenmorangie tells us they're using bourbon barrels, sherry casks, and virgin oak, so fresh charred oak barrels. And so right after the chocolate, you get a huge wave of vanilla. There's a little bit of cinnamon spice, lots of mixed fruits from the sherry, and you get a little bit of nuttiness, like a hazelnut. The oak here is interesting because I think from those virgin charred oak casks that you get a younger woody aroma on the nose here. You definitely get a little bit of that more toasted oak aroma, but in the background there's a little bit of the musty warehouse aroma. So I definitely believe them that some of the whiskey that they're adding, or at least a decent margin of it, is probably around that 18-year age, simply because that's usually where you start being able to smell that older warehouse aroma, is around 18 to 20 years. So I definitely believe them that there is some older whiskey in here just on the nose. But it definitely has that fresh vibrancy that makes me think that there's definitely some younger 10-year-old, 12-year-old whiskey in here as well. And they want to use a non-age statement label because, let's be honest, most people would not pay $200 to $240 for something that would have to be labeled as a 10-year-old whiskey. And I would guess that probably that chocolate barley, I think they distill one time a year, the chocolate barley. I would guess that that is probably the younger component here. So, see how it tastes. That is simply one of my favorite whiskeys. It's so rich. It's got this really luxurious mouthfeel to it. The higher 46% proof, 46% ABV, the higher proof on it, gives it this full texture. You get milk chocolate right up front. A load of milk chocolate. Then you get the fruits coming through. You get the orange. It's like one of those chocolate orange treats. You get a little bit of the coffee coming back in, kind of like a lighter roasted coffee. There's caramel. There's oak and a little bit of spiciness. The finish starts getting a little oakier as it goes, but again, because you can tell that this isn't 20, 30, 40-year-old whiskey, as Glenmorangie may kind of suggest that it is by saying it's got some of their oldest stock. Well, the finish isn't long enough for it to be that old. It's not dry enough for it to be that old, unless they were using really worn out barrels, which is possible, but I to me, this tastes like a average 18, 20-year-old whiskey. But the finish on it's just really nice. That fruit, I can still taste some of the fruitiness from the sherry casks. I can still taste some of the bourbon notes, some of the caramel, the vanilla notes. One of my favorite finishes actually for Scotch is the virgin charred oak barrels. They don't do it that often, but it gives really nice vanilla notes. And it can really bring a lot of vibrancy to a older whiskey that you don't normally get. Man, I think if I was going to tell somebody whether or not they should buy this, the first thing you have to know is it's pretty sweet. Almost all of Glenmorangie's whiskeys are lean towards the sweeter side, and that's not always what I want. But in this case, it's such a well done whiskey. It really makes a nice end of the evening dessert whiskey. The one thing I would caution you if you're a newer drinker is this isn't going to be as smooth as you might expect. And I think that's for a couple reasons. I think the higher ABV gives a lot of body. Now, again, there's no sharpness, no alcohol, ethanol aroma, no burn in your throat. But if you're not really well versed in drinking higher proof whiskeys, and for Scotch, this is a little bit higher proof, not so much compared to bourbon, but it's easy to mistake that feel of the higher alcohol in your mouth for like burn. It's not really that's normal. But again, it's going to have a little more of a beefy flavor than you might expect it's not going to just go down like silk the way maybe a 18-year-old Macallan would for the same price. That being said, this is one of my absolute, I can just smell this forever. Yeah. Yeah, this is definitely one that I will be buying again when the bottle is empty. But, you know, this bottle's lasted me over a year at least. It's something I drink very rarely, but when I do, I absolutely love it. And again, it's not going to be for everyone. It's a little more of a sweet, delicate whiskey. Delicate in the sense that I think if you add any water to this, it's going to kill it. Glenmorangie produces a very light spirit because they have the tallest stills in Scotland. And so they don't get, from the spirit, a thick, oily, viscous product the way something like Macallan would. What they end up with is a really light spirit that takes on a lot of cask influence. And so I think what you're seeing here in this is a lot of the cask-driven flavors, not so much the flavors other than the chocolate barley, which adds just that splash of milk chocolate, the mocha, the coffee aromas. But mostly this is a very cask-driven whiskey with the sherry and the fresh oak and the ex-bourbon casks. And I think it's very well done. Again, I think if you're given this as a gift, the bottle, the heavy metal top, the thick glass bottom, you know, the beautiful gold. This is actually textured. It's not a label. It's actually printed into the glass. You know, I think this is one of the absolute nicest looking bottles that you could give somebody as a Father's Day gift, Christmas present, birthday present, whatever. And if they like the sweeter, non-peated scotches, you know, Macallan's, Glendronach's, I think they're going to enjoy this and love it, and especially it looks the part. So remember, give me a thumbs up if you like this video, subscribe to my channel, and let me know down in the comments below what you think of the Glenmorangie Signet. Do you think it's worth $200? Do you think it's completely overrated? Just let me know. And until next time, cheers.